Check, check. How we all doing today? We're just going to do some tests of the audio and visual, and then we'll get started here in a minute. Check, check. Awesome. All right, we'll get started. Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. And oh boy, do we have a lot of extreme fear right now. Thank you all to everyone who is joining, whether live or in replay. We are going to digest the current move in the crypto market. And I want to continue the conversation of the video that I made yesterday. Is this a mama bear or a baby bear type of bear market that we have right now? Many people believe that this is the mama bear variety, that we have this phenomena known as 4-year cycles. It's about another 4 years, give or take a month, since the last popular cycle top. And that is that this is the end of the Bitcoin market. And then you have people like myself who don't quite buy into that. And part of the reason is that we've been following a couple different flowcharts here of what happens within a cycle. And classically speaking, we do not get end of cycle activity until we see Bitcoin top being too expensive to buy, and we get Bitcoin price going down while Bitcoin dominance goes down, and we get some sort of an alt season. We've been talking a lot about the path to alt season in the past few live streams over the past few weeks. So been saying, and this is still true, you look at the charts, we're still in phase 2. We do not have yet phase 3 or phase 4, but for the record, most of the time we do not get into these phases until Bitcoin is done topping. So I'm going to show you the data and the charts that I'm looking at, why I believe this cycle is not over yet. And you guys are welcome to agree or disagree and state your reasons why. Arctic Kevin, right on cue. Well, we are dead. I'm holding dead bags again. This wasn't a bull run, in my opinion. I do agree with you, Kevin, that this wasn't a bull run, at least not yet. Some foreshadowing, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin dominance a bit. And when you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, I wonder if you guys also see what I'm seeing. And I'm asking myself, is this similar to what we had in 2019, in 2020, where we had a double peak in Bitcoin dominance? I'm not saying we have to get a double peak, but is this similar to what we had in 2019? Because if we go over to Bitcoin and we take a look at our moving averages, oh my gosh, here we go. I don't know what that's all about. Let's get rid of that. When we take a look at Bitcoin from 2019, we see we had a mid-cycle top. And then over the course of time, we saw Bitcoin hit the 100-week moving average. And then, of course, with COVID, we saw the 200 moving average. Now, this move over the course of the last couple of weeks, it has surprised a lot of people. I went on a little family vacation, and inside of a week, I'm like, oh my God, the amount of downward movement that's happened. And I was excited to get to you guys to talk about this stuff, but also I saw it as a blessing. I'm like, I can't do a video on Monday or Tuesday like usual. I had to, fly back and do all the things. And it sort of gave me, I think, the benefit of perspective. Let the move play out, get some perspective, see, where is this move taking us? What do the indicators say? Because this time really is different. We are seeing different things happen in the crypto market now that have not happened before if you are a 4-year cyclist. So people who are the classic 4-year cyclists, They say, well, Bitcoin goes through this pattern. I wonder if we can do this here of where, here we go. Can we do the 12 months? There we go. We have on Heikinashi, so let's get to regular candles here. There we go. So people have talked about how classic Fourier cycles that we have this 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 years up, 1 year down, 2 years up. Right now, this candle is red. And so if you are a classic Fourier cyclist, this does not fit your perspective. And I've been talking a lot lately, increasingly, even before this move, how that I don't believe in the Fourier cycle. And part of the reason why is I think it's a correlation. I think anytime you get into patternistic type thinking, you're going to get wrecked by markets because they do different things here and there. And so when we take a look at this cycle, one of the charts that I talk about a lot is the Bitcoin rainbow chart. And it's not to make any specific predictions, but it's to show you that Bitcoin fits within a logarithmic regression. Now, in a logarithmic regression, what you typically have is a widening of the x-axis between the power movements in the y-axis. Y-axis, you have your log scale, factors of 10. But in the x-axis, what I think has lulled people to sleep is the timing of the halvings. When you take a look at the timing of the halvings, people look at this like things are pretty even. However, we've gone through this data, and I don't want to get too into the weeds again because we've had these prior conversations. You can backtest it if you want. But when you take a look at the data from bottoms to tops, you will find that each cycle gets stretched more and more. And we said, we just hit the bottom to top timing from last cycle. Again, it is something like 1,050 days. But bottom to top of the cycle before was 850. Bottom to top of the cycle before was 750. I'm embarrassed to say I remember the exact numbers or around the exact numbers. So bottom to top, 750, 850, 1,050. We just hit 1,050. And I said on this channel that I would be expecting a bottom to top, even longer, 1250, 1350. Not trying to make an exact prediction, but that we are going to get more of a stretch. Now, what happens between that stretch, who knows? But the way I see this current movement is similar to that of 2019. We're going to get more into that. Let's see. This seems like market manipulation, the shakeout retail. I don't have the chart with me, but I have seen as a little bit on Twitter and X today because I want to see, what are the people saying about this bear market? Is retail believing it's over? And guys, I have to tell you, I was laughing because there are some very popular YouTubers, crypto people, and literally just a week ago, they were saying, well, it's probable that we are going to 150K. This is the most likely outcome. And now their charts are completely flipped. And that's funny to me because it's, these are retail people that are becoming more bearish when it's bearish. And I'm like, well, that's convenient. And I am not one of those people. I have my theory. I have my hypothesis. I believe the data still fits within that hypothesis. And I think within the stretch we are getting, we are seeing non-end of cycle behaviors. Now, the last two cycles, what have we seen? We've seen Bitcoin top, and then we get that rotation into altcoins. All right, we've seen that. And I'm going to be referencing these charts a lot, the flow chart of the path to alt season, as well as Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance and the cycle behavior. Again, we see Bitcoin dominance go down and alt season happens underneath these two conditions. That is not what just happened. What we saw is altcoins went down pretty good back here. Actually, let's overlay Bitcoin dominance so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That's not what I want. I need to add Bitcoin dominance. Here we go. So recently, let's go to the daily. I want to see this as accurate as possible. We saw Bitcoin dominance jump right here. You see the Bitcoin dominance in the background. This candle right here was the largest liquidation event ever. Now, it was a liquidation for Bitcoin to an extent, but more so for altcoins. Altcoins really took a hit right in here. Okay. Now look at this current Bitcoin move, but what is Bitcoin dominance doing? Well, Bitcoin dominance double topped out and is coming down. In the past, this has not been what we've seen. What we've seen is when it is end of cycle behavior, is that we have Bitcoin top, and then we get the rotation into Bitcoin dominance as it goes down. And right now, we're not seeing that rotation. So I will make the claim that this is not alt season. All you guys would agree with me. And this is not end of cycle. If we go to the prior two alt seasons, this is what I'm talking about to give you a picture. Here is where we have Bitcoin topping. We have Bitcoin dominance topping together. And then from that peak, we get that massive rotation into alt season. We will go back to 2017 and we'll see that same effect again. Bitcoin dominance peaked here, Bitcoin topped, and then from that peak, that's when we get alt season, the rotation into Bitcoin dominance. So what I see here is that, yes, technically we are bearish. However, I am comparing this time now more so to 2019. Not exactly like 2019, but very similar. And let's add on the moving averages, if we will. In 2019, and again, we're going to have to try to take COVID out of our minds here, okay? Because let's just say we don't get a black swan this time around, but we get something similar. Okay, I'm going to show you guys the similarities throughout the course of this video. We see Bitcoin from this mid-cycle top slowly grind down. This cycle, it's been different. We've been seeing Bitcoin climb up. We had the 2024 March peak, end of last year, and then recently we've had 3 different peaks. Okay, it came down. We were bearish here. Okay, this is technically bearish. And the mistake I see a lot of people in the crypto world make is when they say it's bearish, they're also saying, without saying it, give up. The cycle's over. It is bearish, give up. This is technically bearish. This orange line is a 50-week moving average. When you are under the 50-week moving average, you are bearish. And so if you would have given up in this area or this area, you know what you would have missed out on. Now we see the Bitcoin dominance looming in the background, and we see what it did over the course of this time. Over the course of time, we saw Bitcoin really chop sideways. Yes, it went down to the 200-week moving average. No, I don't know whether or not that's going to happen or not, but we have to be open to any possibilities. To reference one of my favorite charts, and this isn't as recently dated, we've had a couple more 30% pullbacks, the tariff scare, as well as recently. So we've had 2 more 30% pullbacks. There was a number of 30% pullbacks here. They don't show it because they're showing bull market pullbacks. We are now in a bear market. And the question I'm asking is it a mama bear? Here's your mama bear. Okay, here's your mama bear. Or is it a baby bear? I am more in the mindset of it being a baby bear type of bear market. One of the leading reasons is we just started phase 2. Okay, and we did not get end of cycle behavior. One of the things that even happened, let's go over to Bitcoin dominance here. And you've probably heard this narrative, and I wasn't sure how much credence to give to it. But one of the narratives you've probably heard of is the federal balance sheet changing, or the Fed switching from QT to QE, quantitative tightening to quantitative easing. We've just heard the Fed say, starting in December, they are rolling back to quantitative easing. Now, if you look at where this happened, last cycle is very clean. It was when Bitcoin dominance topped out. The Fed switched from QT to QE. And even throughout the course of QE, we see Bitcoin dominance. You saw on the Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin went sideways in this time until it started to go up. And then we had that end of cycle behavior. We have the United States Central Bank balance sheet in the background, and we see that Bitcoin dominance recently peaked. Again, I don't always think charts are going to be so perfectly cut and dry, but we're seeing similar behaviors. Is that the Fed, they have said we're going to QE. This is going to take some time. And so that is data point number 2 that I will say is, is this end of cycle behavior? Have we seen Bitcoin top? Have we seen the rotation? Okay, we have not seen this. We just saw the start of phase 2, Ethereum. being Ethereum season. And we can go to phase 2 right here. Let's turn off the moving averages because there's too many lines going on in the background. And we can see, look where quantitative easing began. Okay, right down here, right as Ethereum was gaining value against Bitcoin. And this is where we have alt season, when we go from about the 0.25 fib to 0.5. When Ethereum is gaining value in its market cap comparison against Bitcoin. Okay, same as 2017, about 0.25 to 0.5. That's when we have alt season. Now we tagged 0.25. We're coming down a little bit here. And what we also see is Ethereum sort of front running this quantitative easing move. And I ask myself, why is that? And I think the answer is staring us right in front of the face, right in front of our faces. And I believe that it is all part of the secular AI bubble that we are in. Very similar to the late 90s .com bubble. Here's what I think, guys. I think that we are in a prolonged Bitcoin cycle. Again, the log regression. Okay, I'm combining all the different bits of my argument together. That we have this log regression, these increasing stretches from bottom to top every cycle, that we're getting one of these cycles along with a .com bubble type scenario. Now you see this .com bubble and you might say to yourself, man, look at that. Look how high the Shiller PE is. That must have been great for stocks. Well, we can go over to that. We can go over and take a look at the volatility index. Let's take off the USC BBS. I'll get to your guys' comments here in a minute. Let me just finish making this point here. Take a look at the VIX, all right? See these levels that it's at, as low as 12, maybe topping out somewhere around, let's say 20, 12 to 20. That's not really too volatile. But if we go to 1999, when the stock market was topping, here's the range of the VIX, from 20 to 30 pretty much. We can overlay the S&P 500. So what I'm looking for is not just patterns. I'm looking for flow. I'm looking for the flow of money, the flow of a crypto cycle. And what the money flows tell me, is that we are still here, that we are in more of a similar position with Bitcoin dominance. And I wanted to take a look at dominances compared against each other, like Tether dominance and total 3 dominance, others dominance. I wanted to compare that and see, with you guys, how comparable this is to 2019, 2020. But all this data says, you know what, this isn't end of cycle. In fact, we are probably just starting the bubble here, the AI bubble, if you will, where things are going to get crazy. We're going to see the VIX continue to rise. This was 1999, by the way. Look out how much the S&P 500 rose with all this extra volatility. So crypto has lulled people to sleep. You see, 2017, we had pretty volatile times. We had 40% pullbacks, 30% pullbacks. Last cycle, we had a lot of 30% pullbacks. This cycle has been the cycle of 20% pullbacks. We are just now, again, in a 30% pullback. And I think the log regression has sort of lulled people to sleep. Look at how nice this chart is. Look at how steady this is. Okay. This isn't the classic crypto that I know from 2017, where when we get these 40% pullbacks, I just like to say, crypto's going to crypto. And I think we're in one of those moments where crypto is going to crypto, but I'm not seeing the data to support that this is end of cycle behavior. So I'll get to some of the dominance comparisons here in the video. There's something else I wanted to say. It'll come back to me, but I want to get to some of your comments. If 126K was the top, should we not expect a rotation to begin soon? McGruber, to your point, yes. In the past, we can add on Bitcoin dominance in the background here. And that is what happens. Bitcoin tops. It's too expensive to buy. We get that rotation after Bitcoin tops. Okay. Here's 2019. By the way, look at 2019, how dominance goes up and down with Bitcoin. Okay. Now, when Bitcoin was topping, okay, look where Bitcoin dominance was topping out. Bitcoin dominance topped here, and it topped right around the top. And then we got that rotation. So yes, you are right. Now, what are we seeing now? We're seeing Bitcoin dominance move up and down with Bitcoin. When have we last seen Bitcoin dominance move up and down with Bitcoin? Well, right here. And so are we bearish? Yes, but I believe this is a baby bear and not a mama bear. Art of Kevin, if we took out the year-long grind of Bitcoin getting to 126 and applied it to the standard bull run, that peak would make sense. The fact this has surged up and down to 126K doesn't seem like right. I assume you mean doesn't seem quite right or something along those lines. Yes, and I'm digesting your comment. I don't know if I have to add anything to that. I think you put that quite nicely. That yes, we rose to 126K. Here's what I'll say. Okay, the move to 126K and the timing of it. A lot of 4-year cyclists are going to be like, "Yep, 4-year cycle." All right, it's a 4-year cycle. But we've talked about this before. What is the cycle top from last cycle? These white lines are the halvings. Okay, the red line is what most people would classically consider the top. Well, technically speaking, between the halving, we had a cycle top here in March of 24. And the first top here was when we had alt season. Okay. Here was what many consider to be the cycle top. So I don't think it's as cut and dry. And again, I think going back to the log regression, we see many cycles have multiple tops. Okay, the first cycle of multiple tops, the second cycle of multiple tops. Even 2017, we had that sort of mid-cycle false top. This was the cleanest top ever. Everything worked so nicely. Last cycle pretty much had 3 tops for all of that's considered. Some people believe, well, and there's data to agree with this, that 2024 was sort of a mini alt season. Right? There's people that say, 24, March 24, we had meme coins going up. I'm sure there's some charts that agree with this. This is the large cap chart. Where is March of 24? Well, this doesn't quite agree with this. How about others? Others, March of 24, kind of. Here we go. Yeah, March of 24, right here. So there are people that believe, excuse me, that March of 24 was a mini alt season. Let's overlay Bitcoin in the background. Sorry, I might have to get some water here. Others dash Bitcoin. If you're like, what the heck is others? Others is the total crypto market cap outside the top 10. So you see that. Crypto total market cap outside the top 10. All right. Others dash Bitcoin, we're comparing all those cryptos to Bitcoin. So if you take everything outside of Cardano, add the whole market cap, right now we have a 12% comparison. So the whole market cap is 12% that of Bitcoin's. So again, Bitcoin's market cap currently is at around 1.7 trillion. You take everything outside of the top 10, add it up all together, all the market caps, it is a 12% comparison, 0.12 to Bitcoin. Okay. Now we see, again, going back to the phase 3 and phase 4, when we have the large caps and the small caps running up, this is more for the medium and small caps. Look at how others Bitcoin runs after the Bitcoin top. Okay. By the way, this was the mid-cycle top. They weren't running here. In fact, the overall others dash Bitcoin was moving kind of with Bitcoin dominance, even inversely to it. Okay. Here we had the Bitcoin top in the background, and then the total market cap rose right after. So again, we have that rotation. Okay, this is what Bitcoin dominance shows us. When the total percent taken up by Bitcoin is going down, there's a rotation. Okay, so some people theorize. They say, March 24, we had a mini alt season. Here's the March 24 top. Here's others. But when we look at this from a macro perspective, you see that macro-wise, we're just going down. This is not end of cycle behavior. We would be seeing others dash Bitcoin moving up a lot more than this. And so, again, we see this inverse relationship of, let me just draw an arrow to make it clear. Here's others dash Bitcoin moving this way. Okay. And then here's Bitcoin in the background moving that way. All right, inverse relationship. Okay, when we're getting near the cycle top, that relationship and move together a little bit. Right before the cycle top, you see this was inverse right here. This was 2017. All right. How about 2019 with that mid-cycle top? Can I zoom in, please? Okay, you see Bitcoin moving here, and we see others moving here. Okay, I don't have to draw two arrows. You guys see it. So we see when this inverse relationship happens, right? Before we move to the cycle top. There is a lot to say that we are not at the cycle top yet. Okay, we can go to exactly what I've been talking about. Look at where these cycle peaks are. We have not hit anywhere near the high 100K area. You know, some people are saying 200K, 150K. We could take a look at, let's get rid of Bitcoin here. We could take a look at log regression. We can take a look at pi cycle. Let's add on both those. I think, for simplicity, we'll just add these on and just go from there. There's lots of different ways you can take a look at where the top is. Bull market peak indicators. This is on coinglass.com. I mean, none of these have been flashing, but when we go to this, you can see where the cycle tops are in comparison to the pi cycle, in comparison to the log regression. Okay, we just got into the lower end here, but we never got our end of cycle top behavior. And I'm here to tell you that's because we're not there yet. Okay, bottom to top, each cycle gets stretched. We stretched for the similar amount for the 4-year cycle, but from what I'm seeing, this is more of a baby bear than a mama bear. At least that's what my hypothesis is. If we go to, let's go to Bitcoin dominance. Let's add on one of my favorite indicators, the MACD. Okay, we talk about this too with the pull of the MACD. Look at the moving averages here. You see how the MACD was pulling. We had bullish divergence on the MACD, which eventually pulled Bitcoin dominance back up. Over here, we see bearish divergence on the MACD. You see that direction of those moving averages. Okay, we see that direction, and eventually Bitcoin dominance went with that bearish divergence pull down. We see the bullish divergence here. MACD was pulling it up. Bitcoin dominance went up. Now we see the bearish divergence playing out for quite a while on the MACD. Okay. Recently, it's just gone negative. Okay. And I told you guys before this big move, I said, even if this flips positive, as long as the momentum of the MACD is staying negative, that's a good thing. We still have that with Ethereum, Bitcoin. Look at this whole momentum, this move. Okay. We bottomed out. Just recently, we started going up. And if you're asking yourself, well, when's the last time it did that? Here you go. And so, with the MACD getting to this level, what is that, 0.02? I mean, it's similar to it's similar to the move that we saw back here in August of 2020. Okay. And remember, the Fed switched from quantitative easing, or QT to QE, quantitative tightening to easing, back in this area from August 19 to, what is this, February 2020. So yes, there is a delay. Okay. I am not saying there's going to be an alt season in 2 weeks, in 2 months. I don't know. But what I am saying is that this is getting dragged out. We are being stretched, and we are having one of those crypto moves on our way towards a potential alt season. All right, no new comments. Cool. So I wanted to go through also what dominance was doing. I wanted to see total, total 3. No, I'm just doing some fun charting here. There's something I wanted to total 3 minus. I had an idea in my head before, and I'm like, kind of forgot about it. Would this work? Kind of. Okay. So what I wanted to see was, how could we compare this to 2019, right? I have total 3 minus Bitcoin dominance here. And if I can't explain it well enough to you guys, I kind of want to move on from it. Um, Maybe I wanted to do total 3 minus others dash Bitcoin. Is that what I wanted to do? Sorry, bear with me here. Total 3 minus others. Let me come back to that. I'm having a brain freeze right now. I don't want to just start rambling about nothing. I did want to take a look at tether dominance. Now, tether dominance recently, we have gone back up to the 0.5 fib. Here would be a bit of possible bullish news. Can we make a macro double top because tether is an inverse relationship? I do wonder about, let's see, USDT. Let's subtract, because we have two stable coins, right? Our number 3 and 6 overall cryptos are stable coins. And often we don't talk about USDC, even though it has a $74 billion market cap. But when we take a look at these together, see, I was hoping there would be more charting back there. All right. I wanted to add in Bitcoin. Here we go. You see the inverse relationship from the stable coins to Bitcoin. When stable coins are going down, it's more risk on for Bitcoin. All right. We see that inverse relationship here as well. And we see it now as well. So what we are looking for, let's get rid of Bitcoin here, is we be looking for Tether to have some reason to flip in reverse. All right. So as I take a look at this, just digesting here, let's do, I wonder, let's add them together. I'm like, why am I subtracting them? Let's add them together. When we add them together, yeah, here we go. We have an ascending channel. And I do wonder if we are in an ascending channel. Typically, ascending channels like to break down. Could we see a breakdown of the ascending channel? And is this somewhere near a top? I do wonder about that as far as our tether dominances are concerned. This is a chart I like to look at once in a while. This is the ratio of networks realized value to a 90-day moving average. And for Ethereum, this shows us where we can expect our alt seasons. Okay, let's add on Ethereum and show you what that looks like in the background. Now we gotta change the color because that's just too much of the same thing. But I mean, even this was sort of giving me pause not too long ago, because what we saw was this sort of chopping around. And when it does that, sometimes we get these little spikes that lead to these lows in Ethereum. And Ethereum, the number one altcoin, that's going to lead the way too. So Ethereum going through a little bit of chop right now, but again, look where these peaks are for Ethereum. Okay, we are not in that territory yet, and that is going to take some time to play out. Speaking of Ethereum, let's go over to it. Let's go over to the Ethereum chart, see where it's at right now. So we have wicked, let's see here. I have a low to high fib, and we have had a 0.5 pullback. I want to redraw that here in a minute. But let's take a look at the macro fib from high to low. We are right in this golden pocket. That's the 618 to the 65, and we have the 200-week moving average. So not only do I want to see a target get hit, but I want to see indicators start to show divergence or start to show stability. So, you can add on a MACD or RSI. See, this to me says we still need to drop a little bit. Okay. Negative momentum, by the way, positive momentum. We're getting a pullback here, but as long as this momentum creates a higher low and a higher low in price, I think that's bullish. All right. That's what we're seeing here for Ethereum, but we haven't seen that flip yet. So I'm not ready to call this a bottom. Ooh, I remember what I was going to talk about before. I wanted to talk about RSI as well. One of the good things happening right now, this has been sort of the elephant in the room that I will even admit I was sort of ignoring for a bit, and that is this triple top in the RSI. We've been feeling this triple top in the RSI for, I mean, let's just measure it out till today. Till today, almost 2 years. Let's say a year and a half, almost 2 years. We've had this bearish divergence for almost 2 years. Okay, higher highs in price, lower highs in the strength. The RSI is finally breaking and resetting. I think that is a good thing. Because again, I've been talking a lot about momentum recently with the MACD and the RSI. And take a look at the weekly RSI, how we are just now entering oversold territory, or about to. We're getting close. When's the last times we've seen the RSI here? Well, we saw it this low, like right before the very bottom. So this is Mama Bear. And if we add on a moving average, again, the RSI currently is at, this is why you can't make comparisons. The RSI currently is at like 30, okay? Where was price when the RSI was at 30 back here? It was at the 200-week moving average. Okay, we're not even there yet. We're at the 100-week, but we're not at the 200-week. Okay, how about when the RSI bottomed out here? Okay, again, this was the 200-week. And the RSI bottomed out here. That was the 200-week. So when we take a look at Bitcoin, again, maybe a little bit of a 2019 comparison, look at how I think without COVID, we probably would have double bottomed here at the 100-week moving average. So, the RSI is very oversold right now. And again, I don't like making comparisons one-to-one, but the fact that we're finally oversold tells me, okay, this bearish divergence, it is finally playing out. And now we get to see where Bitcoin resets. Is it going to reset at this 1.236 fib, as well as the 100-week moving average? So that gives us a range. I talked about this in yesterday's video, a range of 85 to 81K, somewhere in there. Is that where we bottom out? Right in that range? I think, to me, that makes a lot of sense if the RSI is able to bottom out here. Now, sometimes you have to be careful. Even when an RSI bottoms out and we get that divergence, 2022 was a prime example of this. Let's fix that. There we go. You see how we had bullish divergence, but a lower price. Okay, let's go to 2019 for a comparison. There was just bearish, and then there was no divergence here at all. The price went with the RSI. That happens too. So back to what I'm saying, though, you do have to be careful of that. That it is possible the RSI might rise while the price does a little bit of another dip. So what I'm seeing right now, if price can stabilize here on the MACD, the RSI, and we can reset, I think this 1.236 on 100-week moving average is area number one. Again, 81 to 85K, area number one for a potential bottom. Area number two, people aren't going to like this, but it's the former all-time high, this gray line, okay, all the way back from 2021. It's a former all-time high and the 200-week moving average, somewhere in the high 60s, 70K. All right, so you just got to take it by levels, in my opinion. But again, as far as the flow, the structure, going back to the 2019 comparison, we just started phase two. We have quantitative easing starting in December. We've had rate cuts, okay? There are a lot of inflationary macro pressures on the market, even gold. What's gold doing right now? Because gold tends to have an inverse relationship with Bitcoin. Just curious. Did it top out at this 3618? Could gold be potentially topping out? I don't know. There's no divergence here. Here it's just bullish. And so we have a lot of macro inflationary pressures on the market right now. That is good for Bitcoin. That's always been good for Bitcoin. It takes time to take an effect. And the question, I guess, is how long? And so if we have not had end of cycle behavior, then what we are in right now is we are under the conditions of where we are waiting for those macro inflationary pressures to pull us back up. Okay. And we need charting to, or we need strength to take us there. We need momentum to take us there. Here we see, look at that macro momentum. I don't love this. I mean, if you want to make a bearish case, here's momentum for the MACD. Can this flip soon and stay in the positive territory? As it enters into the negative territory, I think the MACD will give us some clear answers on whether or not it's mama bear or baby bear. The blue is entering negative territory, but if it recovers and we're in the positive side, that's still a good thing, even with the RSI resetting itself. So again, the RSI, we have not seen it this oversold since the literal bottoms, including COVID. Okay, that's how bad the RSI is right now. And, Bitcoin, as far as the sell-offs it's had this cycle, I mean, we are matching, I want to go over to the daily. I want to give you the most accurate information. I'm doing this with you guys too. As far as comparing these pullbacks, 33.5%. This one was 32%. What's this one at? This one right now, 36%. So this is the biggest pullback so far. And look at the steepness of this. My gosh. So this is very oversold right now. So yeah, we want to see structure. So you're not catching a falling knife. That's why I'm waiting to see, is the weekly and the 1, 2, 3, 6, is this going to hold? Okay, we want to see structure. The RSIs, the MACDs, we want to see those settle in while hopefully price maintains right here. If it doesn't, here's your next target. You just got to take it by levels. I did want to run through some other indicators, do a mini indicator special, and then if I see any other comments, we'll talk about that, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Now, if you guys watch my indicator special video from a week ago before all this nonsense happened, a lot of the indicators were saying mid 80Ks, which is where we're at right now. There's a lot of indicators saying mid 90s and mid 80Ks. Well, we got that. We got that pretty quick. But I'm curious. We're just going to run through a number of these pretty quick and see where we're at right now. So, we're in the Aurora Super Guppy. When we're there, mama bear or baby bear. We don't want to see those lines turn red. Gray, fine. Red, not good. So here's something I'd be looking for, is as Bitcoin recovers, is it going to be rejected? Okay. Even here in 2019, as it recovers, are we going to get rejection? So I'd be wondering about that again. As Bitcoin recovers, I think 102K might be an area we could fly up to quickly and possibly get a rejection. Okay, we got to watch what the market starts doing or what the charts start doing. Bollinger Bands, yeah, that's pretty negative right there. And we talked about this before too, how the Bollinger Bands get squeezed, you get big moves one way or the other, up or down. And this is, we are very oversold right now. Darvis box, this one I love. Anytime we get very far under or over these Darvis boxes, that's when I think you look at the fibs and the moving averages. I don't have that on the moving averages right now, but you can see out of the Darvis box, found fib resistance, Darvis box catches up. To me, this looks like the perfect area for the Darvis box to eventually catch up. The next area, again, 70K, 68K. So, but we want to see those indicators catch up. Yeah. So trend is your friend. We just have a flip of the Don Chain trend ribbon. This one I like in bear markets. It's called the Don Chain trend ribbon. We don't get red very often. Mama bear. Okay, look where it started, guys. This is when it broke those lows. That's where it started. This was a mama bear situation. This was a mama bear situation, though I will say, why was it not? I'm surprised it doesn't start back here. I'd have to read more into it. But when we get the Don Chain trend ribbon going for a bit, and these things can go for, even in good scenarios. Oh my God. Let's try that again. This one went for about 4 months. That's been the shortest. Okay. But that wasn't right with the low. Okay. You see how the low comes later. So if this is truly the change of a trend, and again, I think right now we are bearish, whether it's a big bear or little bear, that's the question. Okay. But we're getting a reset on the RSI. The hope is that our price stabilizes and we kind of chop in here. We accumulate for a bit. But yeah, the Don Chain trend ribbon, that one don't lie. We've only seen that early Magic Mather. I love the glass half full approach. Early Black Friday. That's my perspective. And as I'm taking a look at altcoins, I love Chainlink. But we also see, possible head and shoulders. If Chainlink ever gets down, if it breaks this ascending channel and gets underneath $9, I'm buying a lot of Chainlink. Not telling you what to do, but I like your early Black Friday comment. And I think, again, I'll go back to this. Let me put up link again. This is my perspective on any stock, any crypto. If I loved Link enough to buy it here, or if I liked it enough to buy it here, I should love buying it here. Okay, I'm not here to tell you what your strategy is, but as far as dollar cost averaging, I look at buying a bucket of bottoms and selling a bucket of tops. And this is one of those levels. Here's one of those levels. You can also add on, buy signals or sell signals. This would be one. When's the next buy signal on the weekly going to come through? Here? Okay. If you want confirmation, you won't get the exact bottom. But yes, I like your perspective. And all because we are getting a pullback doesn't mean I'm going to sell. I go back to 2017. If I would have sold, this chart's probably better. I shudder to think if I would have sold during any of these pullbacks. Look, we are about to get a 40% pullback. We're on our way. We're finally getting one. And I shudder to think if I would have sold my cryptos at any of those 40% pullbacks before the crypto cycle behavior played out. So I'm not telling you guys what to do. You have to enact your own plan. But what I see happen to people. This is a friend of mine that loves crypto. A move like this happens. He sells. He's like, I'm going to cut my losses. And then cryptos come back above where he sold, and then he buys in. So not only did he sell the bottom, but then he's buying at a higher price. Don't be that guy. Write out your plan so you know what you're doing. Let's stay on task. Let's go through some other. So we're seeing we are bearish, okay? But is it mama bear or baby bear? That is the true question. Let's keep going. This is, where the MACD is going to need to flip would be somewhere in the 100 teens, 115. This will start coming down. Is it going to come down more? Maybe the low 100Ks, 106. But this band, this whole suite indicator, this is where we would see the MACD flip. We are very far from that right now. Actually, one thing, I did this before. It's just measure from when it starts moving down. 28% from the MACD area, 22%. I'm sure we have those beat. Oh yeah. Guys, I'm feeling this could be a good area for a bottom. We have the 100-week moving average and the 1, 2, 3, 6. But we got to see the indicators start to show strength and flip. Ichimoku Cloud. I have a friend who's excuse me, an Ichimoku person, and he was telling me, it's like, we've bottomed on the Ichimoku, and this is what he's talking about. Again, I'm not going to give you more analysis than this. Let's go back to 2017. I mean, we bottomed and then ripped through it. It got back into there, and then there was COVID. Ichimoku didn't quite bottom. Here is just ripping down through there. But again, when we get close to bottoming on the Ichimoku, that tends to be a good thing. So I would assume, I think this is, sort of bullish here that, if 80K holds, then that'll allow the RSIs to reset. The elephant is no longer in the room. Let me go back to the elephant. I'm glad we're getting rid of this elephant. Divergence can take longer than people think. It took almost 2 years, but now it's playing out. And so if this bearish divergence elephant is finally resetting, well, guess what? We're done with this downward momentum. We hang on to the 100-week moving average like we did back here, and we're in this type of scenario. Yeah, I think, you give quantitative easing time, further rate cuts time, all these other inflationary pressures from the government. I think this is what we're in store for. I don't know if you guys have been reading this, but they're talking about $2,000 checks next year. Trump wants to do that, as far as quote unquote tariff revenue. I don't know how they call it revenue when, even factoring in the tariff revenue, we're still at a $1.8 trillion yearly deficit, but that's more inflationary pressure. I think that's going to make for a bullish 2026 overall. That's what I'm seeing. Again, I'm not following patternistic type thinking. Those are just the macro factors. Mayor multiple bands. Well, this is interesting. Okay, 2019 got down to green. Yes, there's COVID, but follow that green line. Okay, the bottoms were here at the yellow. Last cycle, the bottoms were at the yellow and the orange. We're at the green. So if we're in a 2019 scenario, guys, we're seeing more indicators agree with each other that this could be a potential. And where's that next area? 60K, 60 to 70K. I do think this is a good area for some support where we're at right now. Also, fear and greed. I like to see fear start to make divergence too. I mean, we are bottomed out. Now we want to see positive divergence. Though that can be a leading indicator, and we might still get lower prices even with that fear. All right, Larson line, we're negative on that. So again, mama bear, baby bear. When we take a look at this Larson line, I mean, that's the question. Mama bear, we come up, we get rejected. So that would say we come up, maybe somewhere in the low 100Ks, boom. Baby bear, we might start seeing more chop moving above and below. That would be my guess. Mama bear, you just keep getting rejected by the Larson line. So maybe the Larson line needs to become a favorite indicator. This looks like a good one where, if it's baby bear, we hold it, we show moves back above it. How does it compare with the 100-week moving average? Okay. So yeah, I think that could be a way of looking at this. I might be looking at the Larson line more. That, are we going to keep getting rejected by it? I did not mean to get rid of it. I wanted to get rid of the other one. So I think there's a few indicators that agree with each other saying this could be a local bottom. And then we got to see what's going to happen here. Are we going to get rejected off these areas around 102K? If so, that's concerning. Then we might be saying mama bear. Let's see. Pi cycle, we looked at that. Stochastic. Yeah, the stochastic's completely resetting. I mean, that happened after 2019 as well. We already reset the stochastic. We were double resetting. Bitcoin dominance. I was curious about this one with the stochastic, because usually we get a double top, and once you know it, the stochastic's ready to flip positive. So are we going to get, one of these where we hit that second peak sooner than later? We'll see. It's just, what I look for when I'm looking at all these indicators is what's going to agree with each other, what's going to disagree with each other. Ultimate RSI, love this indicator. I mean, if we're looking at a 2019 scenario, you're now looking to get totally oversold. I think the ultimate RSI cuts through the noise. The regular RSI is about to be oversold. The ultimate RSI, when this one's oversold, that's the bottom. Okay. 2019, it stalled out somewhere around 34 or in the 30s. So if this keeps playing out, that might be where, let's look at where the ultimate RSI bottomed out. I mean, here was the 200 week moving average when we were oversold. The 200 week when we were oversold, I mean, we hit the 200 week, but the RSI stayed elevated, so there's still strengths left. What I'm coming away with from this is the Larson line and the ultimate RSI seem to be two very good indicators to keep an eye on, whether or not this is 2019 baby bear or mama bear. What does the monthly say? Curious. Here's the monthly. Look how oversold. I mean, we are nowhere near oversold right there. Ugh. Yeah. The monthly. I mean, I've talked about this one before. I've been looking for like possibly a little higher. In our size, they do weird things. Like you see how it hits up here and then comes back up. Okay. We can get double tops. It could be staying elevated. So I'm going to be watching the ultimate RSI as well as the Larson line. I think those are going to lead the way. All right. Here's total 3. Here's our large cap indicator. Still bearish on that. Okay. 8-year wedge going on. I like looking at the monthly once in a while. I mean, look at how bottomed out we are here on Ethereum Bitcoin. Imagine though when Ethereum Bitcoin starts flipping up. And again, this is, sadly the ultimate RSI doesn't go back this far, but you see what it does when we are getting into alt season. This is bottomed out. Okay, Bitcoin, not so much. But, Bitcoin dominance, I mean, here's another one. Look how overbought Bitcoin dominance is on the RSI, how much strength it's had. This thing's ready to break down more on a macro scale. So that's why I like taking a look at the monthly as well as the weekly. Anyways, I think that'll do it for today. Again, nothing's changed as far as, my hypothesis on the market. We are still in phase 2. And, if this was the end of cycle, okay, what we've seen before is Bitcoin tops and then we get the rotation. Okay, Bitcoin price goes down, dominance goes down, altcoins are going up. We get this, okay? It's not what we have right now. We do have Bitcoin dominance, still bearish, okay? But, it was bearish back here when we were in 2019, 2020. Okay, we never got the total 3. Let me go to total 3. Thought I had it up there. Actually, I do. I was overlooking it. We never got that total 3 new all-time high. We got back to it, but I mean, even take a look at total 3. I guess you could call this bearish divergence too. Where total 3 is coming down. You guys see that? So, yeah. So I'd be looking at seeing, is total 3 going to bottom here around, what is that, 35, 25? And is it going to be around the 100 week moving average or the 200? I'd say the 200. That's a bit of moves. That's a bit of space. Okay. If it gets down here, my guess is we would see total 3 at about 673. But again, right now, what we see with Bitcoin dominance, the fact Bitcoin dominance is going down, that means that altcoins are holding up strongly against Bitcoin, stronger than Bitcoin. Here, not the case, but right now, Bitcoin's going down. Altcoins are overall holding up stronger. And end of cycle behavior, okay, we see that rotation. We're not getting that rotation right now. So, yeah, my money is on the fact we are in a a baby bear scenario, not to freak you guys out, that we are in a baby bear type scenario. And these moves, I mean, we're going to get more volatile. You get more volatility on the way to the top. Crypto's going to do crypto things. Even last cycle, my God, how big of a pullback was this? 30%, before going up higher. Now, it was very detached from the moving averages at that time. Okay, we aren't, and we're right here. We're on the 100 week. Okay, are we in a December 2019 style situation? Let's get rid of this. So, again, I think the quantitative easing argument is coming back more into play. COVID situation notwithstanding, but if we're getting 2K checks next year, retail is going to spend that money on stupid stuff, and they're going to follow the inflows. Yes, we are in an AI bubble, but I've shown you guys the comparisons of the S&P and the Schiller. We can go higher, as unbelievable as that sounds. And we can have a lot of volatility with the market as well. How far back does this go? Not far back enough. I wanted to show you, or I wanted to take a look at the S&P back in. Yeah, this is when we had Schiller P ratio above 40. Okay, all in here. And I wanted to add on the VIX in the background. I wanted to do it this way. So remember, the VIX was between 20 to 30. And look at these VIX spikes. Okay, look at these pullbacks that the S&P got on the way to the top. 12% pullbacks. Okay, this is before the very top. Look at these VIX spikes. The S&P right now is within, 5% of its all-time high? We had a few of the Hindenburg omens recently. I mean, it's not even at the 50. It's at the 20. And yet extreme fear reigns. Look at the volatility. Again, so we hit that channel. We hit the 1618 or got close to it. And the sky's falling and people are saying the bubbles popped. I'm sorry, I don't think so. Even if we get to the 50 and 6,200, I think the market can get a lot crazier. That we could even see mid 7K S&P. And imagine what that can do to crypto in the blink of an eye. Integra, what's up, dude? Brutal week, gang. Got smacked. Yes, we did. And that's okay. Again, just to put a nice bow on this. If you loved your altcoins here or here, why don't we love them here? So this is part of my strategy. When I see extreme fear, I'm looking for opportunities. Okay, but I don't want to just buy a falling knife. I want to see structure hold. You're catching near the end of the live stream, but what we looked at was the ultimate RSI, the Larson lines. Those were good indicators. The Mayer multiple bands. We have a lot to show. There could be some good support right here, but we need to see the RSI and the MACD sort of settle down. And if those settle down, this would be a good area for support. The next major area for support is here in the high 60Ks. Okay. And then to summarize, we are still in phase two, but we are not getting end of cycle behaviors like 2017, 2021, where, again, Bitcoin tops before we get alt season, when we get rotation. Bitcoin dominance, it's going down. That should raise question marks in people's head. The few things that it should raise, here are the three things for me that raise question marks. Bitcoin dominance is going down. Okay, but it's not end of cycle type behavior. It's more similar to what we got here. Okay, it's not this by any stretch. Okay, we have that. We have all the 4-year cyclists saying, hey, I told you so. However, 4-year cycle people, when we flip on the candles, they like to say, it's 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 years up, 1 year down. Something's different. So there's that. Those are two of the things right there. And then the elephant in the room, the RSI, has finally diverged. We are finally getting a reset on the RSI. I'm so happy for this to be done. Okay, I talk about momentum all the time. We are resetting the momentum while hanging out around 80 plus K. I mean, think about that for a second. We had the largest crypto liquidation event ever. Okay, let's go back to Heikinashi. We had the largest crypto liquidation event ever here. We're at the 100 week, the 1.236, the RSI is resetting, quantitative easing starting next month. Like, do you hear all these things? $2,000 checks are coming, maybe. There's a lot of inflationary pressure. So those are the three things that it's like, okay, that's different. And I bring it back to, drum roll please, the log regression. The log regression shows us that we stretch over time. That bottom to top gets longer each time. Bottom to top, we measured this out in prior videos. 750 days. Bottom to top, 850 days. Bottom to top, 1,050. Bottom to top, 1,250, 1,350. I don't know. Take your pick. But if each bottom to top is being stretched, if you're comparing the last cycle, then you're like, yeah, 1,050. That showed us where the top was. But again, log regression shows us we stretch. I mean, 1250 takes us to April. Where does 1350 take us? If we added 100, 200, 300 days, 1350 takes us to August. I'm not here to say it has to top there. Okay, but again, let's get rid of this. I guess I am going to talk about this. 750, again, I'm just rounding. Bottom to top, 750. I think we had agreed that red line's a little lower. Bottom to top, 850. We added 100 days. You with me? Bottom to top, 1050. We added 100. We added 200. What if we had 300? Okay, that's just the rate. Again, so if we go to like 1350, and I don't love this argument. I hate making comparisons time-wise, so I'm not saying that, though it would be funny if it played out. All I'm saying is this is what the log regression shows us. Bitcoin is in this log regression. So it makes sense for this to be stretched more. But all the 4-year cyclists are going to be saying, hey, I told you so. And if you look at the outflows, they are not from long-term hodlers, from what I've seen. If you have data contrary to that, let me know. But from what I've seen this week on Twitter or X is that this sell-off is largely spearheaded by short-term holders. And to me, that makes sense. So I think 2026, going back to the Schiller, going back to quantitative easing, is setting up to be a bullish year. And we are in a 2019 type scenario. Let's go to the comments, then I'll let you guys go. JC Tex. It's not over. I'd love to hear that. Sold off, but I will buy back if it recovers. This cycle is rough. I want to caution you on that, Sergio, and here's why. In my line of work, there is something that we call self-fulfilling prophecies. So I want to challenge you to get rid of that sort of, I don't want to say victim mentality or that, things are negative. Okay. Have a strategy, develop, create a strategy where you can capitalize on that. Okay. So instead of viewing the cycle as rough, what would be a strategy to do well despite how rough or bad it is? Okay. What I do, I'm not telling you what to do, but yes, we can get swings. Okay. How can I take my emotions out of the swings? Am I buying based off fibs, moving averages, confirmation with the RSIs? I mean, you can make it simple, wait for weekly buy signals on good, altcoins, good stocks. Whether it's stocks, crypto, I don't care. What would be a strategy? I'm just asking you hypothetically here. Something for you to ponder, Sergio, is what would be a strategy that would help you out despite whatever market conditions are thrown at you, so you don't feel defeated by the market. I hope you see what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to help you with the emotions and take that out of your strategy. So yeah, I hope that helps. Anyone who bought after the ETF pump basically got smacked this cycle. They're all underwater now. Yeah, a bird just flew into my window if you heard that. Oh, there's feathers floating up. Jesus. If you heard a thud, that was a bird flying into the window. My God, hey, you're looking for a bad omen. There you go. I want to see if the sky's moving. And I'm knocking things over. All right, I don't see a bird on the ground. Maybe that is a metaphor for the markets right now, is that the bird flew into the window. I saw feathers everywhere, but I don't see a body on the ground. So like the phoenix, it rose from the dead. I was worried that little guy killed itself. My God. I don't want to end on that note. I'm trying to remember what I was talking about. Yeah, so having a strategy, a plan, based on whatever market swings give you. Bird indicator, LOL. I mean, yeah, that's. Let me close it out with this. Again, I think going back to the indicators, two of the indicators I'm going to be watching a lot are the ultimate RSI. I mean, the MACD, of course, but that one's still pretty negative, and the Larson line. When we have Mama Bear, we get rejected by that. On the recovery, we get rejected. When we get Baby Bear, we do more of a chop sideways. Historically speaking, we're under the Larson line. That's not good by any stretch. But as we come back up, are we going to be rejected off 102K? If so, let's see. Peer miners never got back to their 23, 24 top. Integra, to that, I would say, if my 2019 comparison is correct, then the miners are not done yet. And I don't like saying miners because I feel like we're going to summon Chris Hansen, if you know what I'm saying. I like saying mining stocks, all right? No weirdos in my live streams. Let's go to the mining stocks. We got to call mining stocks. We go back to 2019. What were mining stocks doing? I mean, this is Mara, the number one mining stock. You can see this one never fully recovered. It died further. But again, these top with Bitcoin. So, yeah, have we seen, mining stocks overall, they top with Bitcoin, okay? We saw it top here in 2024, but we know the top wasn't there. Riot as well, for comparison. I mean, this was very correlated to the recent 126K top. How about 2019? You know, I mean, again, look at that. That was with the mid-cycle top. We bled down for a bit. Let's add on Bitcoin. I can tell it's getting winter time because my throat's drying up. I'm going to need some, bring some water to these live streams. Okay. So again, these things are a little disconnected, whereas cycle tops are more connected. Okay. That's 2020 right here. So again, is this connected, disconnected? I mean, right there, it moved with Bitcoin at the end. Mara, not so much. But again, that's going to happen with all coins. Not everything's going to perform as it did. I'm just not seeing overall mining stocks perform as they have in the past, where they move with Bitcoin. You see those tops. What would be another one that's been out for a bit? I mean, those are the classic two. Cypher, maybe? I think Cypher came out just before 2021. I mean, yeah, here are the tops. Okay. There's Bitcoin topping right after. So, yeah, I do think, if Bitcoin continues to go down here, we're going to see mining stocks come down a bit more. Had to buy Mara and CLS. Dude, I like Mara today. I like Mara just for a dollar cost average level because it's at its 382 and the lower area of this channel. You might get a double bottom. No, that's a little lower. Even if we are in a baby bear scenario, do not be surprised now if we retest the 236. So with any of these, I'm just forewarning you, MACD, I mean, yes, overall this is negative, and I think the flow is positive now, but we might flip into the negative territory and still go a little lower before we get that positive flip. Maybe it's possible we just hang out here, but I think dollar cost average levels, this is one of them. We are underneath the moving averages. CLSK, and then I got to let you guys go here in a minute. Clean Spark. Okay. I would be a little cautious here. I'm going to be patient for CLSK at about 863. Where are the moving averages? Here we go. So yeah, it's losing those moving averages right there. But again, this is going to flip a little negative, and where's it going to settle? I could really see or visualize CLSK bottoming at around 860. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for coming along, being part of the conversation. Maybe I'll put that out at a poll, mama bear or baby bear. It's hard to say for sure. Of course, we're all hoping for baby bear. We're hoping for 2019. And I think Bitcoin dominance is kind of showing us that too. It's sort of showing us that, hey, we've seen this before. This was not alt season right here. And quantitative easing came back. Trying to find a way to combine these charts. Quantitative easing came back right here, and still there's a delay. So QE it's just about to start. I mean, we can go by moving averages a little bit for somewhat of a comparison. I think we're in this type of scenario here where we're getting a short-term, medium-term bear market. But as far as, the RSI on Bitcoin being very oversold right now, like the most oversold that we've been since the literal bottoms, 2018, almost 2020, not even oversold in 2020. This bottom, we are at those points right now. We are oversold and above 80K. I'll take that. So again, I just think when you have some perspective here, I don't think our hypothesis, is broken yet. So we'll see. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for coming along. Hopefully that bird's okay. I'm going to walk outside and make sure it's not dead. If so, I'll tell you. If the bird's dead, I'm going to say, yeah, we're going to Mama Bear. But anyways, thank you so much for coming along. Um, I'm going to be looking for confirmation, Bitcoin to settle at one of these levels and dollar cost averaging. My plan has not changed yet. We were bearish here, but imagine not buying in at these levels. Okay, imagine not buying in 2017 when we got these 40% pullbacks like we're about to get right now. I do not want to sell underneath these conditions where I believe we are not done yet. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. Have a great day. Take care.